trade, they're discussing cooperation between both these nations. Let me go across to Mr. Tejawat. Mr. Tejawat, I want to understand from your perspective as well. You mentioned that this will obviously be ringing alarm bells in India, but I want to understand how tariffs are also going to play a major role between the negotiations. The US has time and again been implementing very random high stakes tariffs, in fact, over China. We saw 145% tariffs on China as well. Do you think that that will play some sort of a major role when we are looking at the negotiations that are taking place, sir?
Very different. They are very much clear that first they wanted to increase the dependability of United States over China. So once the United States is totally dependent in terms of the goods, and we know that the China is the hub where they produces the lots of goods over there. So once the United States is dependent on China, then the Chinese, they know that they can go for the bargaining. And we know that if we compare the United States or the US population, then the US population is not in a condition to produce all the goods what exactly they do consume. So Chinese are very much clear. So even more high tariff, the Chinese are ready to bear it. And they are very much clear. But at the same time, they know that how to control the United States, because we know that the Chinese is having a hold on a rare earth mineral, and then after lots of and these batteries are being used in lots of vehicles and all, and slowly its world is going to be free from the green energy. Maybe we normally call it the petroleums and all, and in turn actually they are looking for the alternative sources of energy. And the China, of course, is having a major role in producing these batteries, not only used in the vehicle, maybe, or maybe some other goods also. So Chinese, they know. So maybe probably they will wait for the 1 decade, another 2 decades, and then after they will try to control the United States. And we know that, of course, there is a big difference between the US and Chinese economy. Of course, it's double. The US economy is almost double than the China. But still, the Chinese economy is the fastest growing economy. And in coming decades, the China will be having that capacity to control the US policies. So I think at this moment, the Chinese people are looking forward to the future, and they know that the future is the China's future. But the most dangerous thing that you mentioned in the beginning, that if both the powers will go together, then it's not only a big danger for the India, but it's big danger for the rest of the world. Because we know that our neighbor, the Pakistan, is being supported not for the good reason, but for the bad reason by the China and United States both. So if there'll be any a kind of a competition between both the countries, then of course the United States will be able to sell their weapons, fighter jets, and all. And vice versa, we know that the China, not even a single statement has passed against the United States, especially when the Middle East issue is on the way, and United States has blockaded all the sea routes over there. So it's not a good news if suppose if both the countries they go together and they plan something bad for the rest of the world. And of course, these people, especially what the economy the Chinese and the United States run, it's highly selfish and that's self-centered economy. Over to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, let me rope in Mr. Srivastav again back into this discussion. Mr. Srivastav, you spoke about semiconductors. There is talk that this will be one of the major issues that will be discussed. In fact, what they're saying is that AI, it's for the first time that AI will formally be discussed between two nations, as a variety of talks that we are doing, or of negotiations that are doing. How significant is this for India as well? Because India also seeks to start off working towards semiconductors, and China, like you mentioned, seems to have one of the biggest reserves of it.
I think technology is one of the key aspects of this US-China relationship. And though there are issues of trade and Taiwan and Indo-Pacific region, and at this point of time, Iran and West Asian crisis, all those issues are very much there. But the technology has been one of the cornerstones of the relationship between the US and China, though this relationship and their engagements with regard to the issues of rare earth material or artificial intelligence or semiconductors, that issue also have a lot of element of contestation and also cooperation. But having said that, I reiterate the point again that it will be good for both the major economies, US and China, to have a win-win situation with regard to the issues of technology. And AI, artificial intelligence, is the technology of the future, and it is going to be shaping our world, and the whole world is getting more and more dependent on the various uses of artificial intelligence, and obviously semiconductors and rare earth materials are going to be used much more than what has been the case in the previous years and decades. So I think the future belongs to these advanced technologies, and if United States of America and China both are going to have a level of greater prosperity, and then I think the win-win situation is the need of the hour, which I believe that such wisdom will be prevailing between the US and China, where both the nations will have some consensus on the issues of technology-related cooperation.
Right.
With regard to India, I believe that India, and we are all very closely watching what's happening in Beijing at this point of time. And I believe that, as I said, that it is very significant for the major powers to have interactions, regular interactions with each other. United States of America and China, they are major powers, and they must have strategic communication constantly. And similar is the case. I have been arguing this time and again that India and China too, we are major powers, and we also must have a regular interaction despite having the issues of boundary and other issues. India-China relationship too must have an element of strategic communication always, because both the India and China, like the US and China, we are major powers and nuclear powered nations. So I think such kind of a strategic communication does avoid any kind of a miscalculation, and the miscalculations are not a very good sign. It's a rather a dangerous sign between the major powers. But so I think to avoid any such scenarios of miscalculation, I think the strategic communication is very significant between major powers. So I believe that India is watching it, and we are watching it with a constructive approach. India is not afraid of this kind of a relationship between the US and China. India is a great power in itself, and we deal with these two countries on the equal footing, be it the United States of America and China. They are free to have their engagements with each other, so are we. We are also having our relationship with the United States of America and China, and India does exercise its strategic autonomy, and we have we do not have any kind of alliance relationship in any of the major powers of the world. India is a big power, a major power in its own self, and our foreign policy or economic policy or defense policy always have a core element of strategic autonomy. We are not under pressure because of any such interactions, and obviously India is watching this kind of developments in Beijing with great interest and also with a constructive approach.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very rightly pointed out, Mr. Srivastav. Let me also introduce another guest who's joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Manan Dwivedi, who's a foreign affairs expert as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Dwivedi. A very good morning to you. Let's start off this discussion. Obviously, we've been having a discussion with these other panelists about this entire, meeting that is taking place. But from your perspectives, overview, what are the highlights of the meeting that will in fact be talked about later in the day, sir?
Contemporary context of this summitry that is going on between President Donald Trump and the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping. We should look into the fact that in the backdrop of Operation Epic Fury against Iran, the war objectives and the military aims of President Donald Trump and the coalition of the willing have not succeeded. There has not even been a partial fulfillment of the war objectives and war aims. So I think now America has been weakened to a certain extent, and China has emerged as a kind of a stable hegemonic power. Now, here I utilize the term stable in the sense that PRC had also been going on and off and dilly-dallying with the world powers with its statements and military aid to Iran. But President Donald Trump now realizes that a plain Jane trajectory of foreign policy, which involves a straight-jacketed containment of China, might not be enough. And we should not follow this particular, we should not forget this particular theme, that a lot of companies and a lot of property, which is crucial and strategically important for America, is owned by China in the American homeland itself. And if we some sort of a talk about doing away with the menace and the scourge of the tariffs which President Donald Trump had imposed upon China would also be discussed in Beijing. And apart from that, the West Asian situation would also be discussed as far as this summitry is going to take place. Now, if we go back in history, what we are going to find that it was in 2017 when in Trump 1.0, President Donald Trump visited China and first round of talks took place. And I think in 2025 only, the Busan talks took place. There was a general global gathering of the world leaders. And there also, Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump were able to have a tete-a-tete with each other. Now, this particular talk comes at a very crucial point. What we need to understand is that America has kind of removed or will be decreasing its security umbrella to countries like South Korea and Japan. This is one theme which comes to my mind right now. And also, as far as the Taiwanese tangle is concerned, America might not be in a position to really oppose China as far as the Taiwanese context of freedom, independence, and the Chinese persistent saber rattling in South China Sea and in the seas near and in the Taiwan Straits. So I think President Donald Trump might bring out this particular theme that, normalizing and stabilizing is the term. Stabilization of relationships. Bilateral ties between US and China might be in the offing, because though America has not been able to give a real drubbing to the Tehran regime, no regime change has occurred, and the Kyrgyz island in West Asia has not been taken up, and it is a kind of a stalemate which is emerging, which has emerged in West Asia. So I think both the countries would do a world of good for themselves, that is China and America, to mend their fences so that the world moves away from a plain Jane confrontational framework of coalition of willing being pitted against the axis of resistance. But still, one cannot deny that that China and Iran relations are very close, and I would just end it, culminated with this particular tidbit of data which comes to my mind. The stats that 80% of the oil and natural gas which emanates or which moves out of Iran has been since times, the last 5 to 6 years, has been consumed and imported by China, which makes China the single most important and the largest consumer of the energy output of Iran, which makes these talks between President Donald Trump and Xi Jinping very critical, strategically important. And I would also like to reiterate that some sort of a strategic communication should always remain between China and America, so that any kind of a miscalculation or a strategic mishap or moving over the precipice situation like the Cold War or other conflicts does not inflame the already bedeviled ties between Beijing and Washington. That's all I have to say.
Right, Mr. Dwivedi.